We're going to talk about what I did to get me from looking like this to looking like that. I want to preface this video saying I'm not bragging or like how I might look now compared to how I looked before. The whole point is, if I can do it, why can't you do it? So I'm going to give you the steps that helped me accomplish looking from how I used to look before to looking a lot better than now I do. For example, the first thing we're going to talk about is walking. Most people are typically sedentary in their day-to-day lives. They don't move. They're like snails. They just move when they have to. They don't move when they want to. For example, the average person walks about 3,000 steps a day. Me, for example, when I was trying to lose weight, my goal was anywhere between 7,000 all the way up to 10,000. Some days I got more, some days I got less, but typically one of the biggest things that can help you, you just gotta move more. For example, I like to wear a Fitbit because it holds me accountable about my steps. Like only at the moment I'm at 3,000. I need to get my move on. So you see what I'm saying? So like a Fitbit is a good indication of that you know how much you should be striving for on a day-to-day basis, because like sometimes you might not always have your phone on you, so you might not know necessarily how much you should be moving. One thing I can recommend: get a Fitbit if you're not too sure how much steps you should get. Another thing, I can't stress this enough. I really can't stress this enough. We as a society, we just need to sleep better, regardless of whether like we need for weight loss, just better cognitive health, better brain function. We just don't sleep well, typically. Like the average person, last time I checked, the average sleep cycle is like 5 to 6 hours. We should all be striving more for 7 to 8. For one, we would work better. One, weight loss is a lot better, especially when you start getting into weight training. You don't build muscles in the gym, you build it at rest. If you're not getting enough rest, the potential amount of muscles you could be building is not necessarily there because you're not getting enough rest. That's would be my second tip. The third tip I'm going to mention is protein. We typically don't eat enough protein in our diet, and protein has a thermogenic effect, meaning like protein is satiating, right? So let's say, for example, I'll have eggs. Eggs is fairly simple to make, and there's like 2 easy ways to make it. You can either boil it or you can either fry it. Either way is fine. It doesn't really matter. You still get the same amount of protein, regardless of how you decide to do it. But for example, like let's say I decide to have eggs for breakfast. I typically might not end up being hungry again till like dinner or later, depending on how many eggs I decide to eat that time and then. But this doesn't only mean eggs. You can have You can have steak. You can have chicken. You can have ham. You can have fish. There's a bunch, or even a protein shake. It doesn't really matter where you decide to get your protein from. I'm just saying, for example, a pound or gram based off your body weight is a good indication. So for me, for example, I'm 225. How much grams of protein do you think I need? 225 grams. Of course, literature would say otherwise. We could get away with 1.7 to 1.8. But I feel just to be more on the safer side, and this is what works better for me, a gram based off body weight is ideal. So for 200 grams, for 200 pounds, not 200 grams, sorry. You get 200 grams of protein. That's what works best for me. Another thing, if you really are trying to lose weight, you can't avoid it. You gotta do some form of weight training. Whether that's you going 3 times a week, 4 times a week, or even 5 times a week. You gotta do something that you know in your schedule that you're able to maintain in the long term, right? So you don't want to do something that you yourself can't manage in the long term. For example, when I first started to work out, I hated going to the gym. So I'd only go 3 times. Eventually, you might get in a habit where you end up enjoying it more, but you want to start like small, and then you want to make increments to the point where like, oh, I enjoy doing this. I'm gonna slowly increase what I like to do. So that way, in the long term, the whole point is, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick to it. That means you only enjoy going 3 times, go 3 times. If it means you enjoy going 4 times, go 4 times. If you enjoy going 5, 6, the whole point, it's a repetition thing. As long as you know you can enjoy it and you'll stick to it long term, you know the old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. The weight you gain isn't going to disappear in one day either. You have to make sure you stick to something. That way, you don't fall off the wagon and end up where we first started. Basically, those are my tips, though. If you guys would like any more, or I can go more in depth about anything, let me know. Enjoy the day.